And let's begin with a question. I like to ask questions. Let's ask a question. And the question is, how would the following story change your view of Christianity if it were true? Let's just ask this question. Let's just assume a story here. And here's the story. 4th century Christians living in Rome, living in Italy, are suffering and living underneath terrible persecution. This was known, of course, as the Diocletian persecution in the early 300s AD. And let's say that they are suffering intense persecution, which we know that they were. They were living in a time of great peril by the Roman state. This, by the way, an incredible painting by Jean-Léon Gérôme. The name of the painting is The Christian Martyrs' Last Prayer. Let's imagine 4th century Christians living in this type of terror, living in this kind of persecution. Let's say that they are convinced that the emperor of Rome, Diocletian at the time, is the Antichrist. And let's say that because they view Diocletian as the Antichrist, they decide they've had enough. They've decided that they've had enough of persecution, and they've decided that they're going to get into some boats, and they're going to go to an area that they think is vacant, and they're going to flee to another country. Right? They're going to flee to another country. And let's say that they view themselves as the new Israel. Let's say that they view any natives living in the land where they arrive as Canaanites, kind of like the Old Testament. And so they kind of have a law to themselves that if any of these natives attack us, then we have a right to mow them down and kill them. And let's say that when they arrive at this new country back in the 4th century, let's say that they exploit and slaughter the native population. Just imagine if 4th century Christians who believed that Diocletian, the Roman emperor, was the Antichrist, got into boats and did similar to what American Christians did, or early British American Christians did in the 17th century. Let's just imagine that for a moment. We can fortunately say that this is untrue. This did not happen, by the way. This is a thought experiment. This did not happen in the 4th century, but it did happen, of course, in the 17th century. People claiming to be Christians did something just like this, just like what I've described. And so the question is how would it change your view of Christianity if it were true? What if 4th century Christians had no longer wanted to endure the persecution, and instead of enduring the persecution, went and conquered another country, viewed themselves as the new Israel, killed the inhabitants that were there, and then viewed themselves as conquerors over, Canaanites? Would you view Christianity differently today if that was the origin of Christianity? If that's how Christianity got started, really, and that's how it spread? Would that affect or change your view of Christianity if that was the case? Would you defend their actions today? In other words, would you go back and look at these 4th century Christians who did this and defend their actions today? Would you say, yes, they were absolutely right to have done that? Or would it skew your views? Would you be attracted to a faith with roots like these? Because it does seem like Christians do seem to look upon the early Christian martyrs with some sense of nobility. They look back at that and they say, well, that was a good thing what they did, right? So they applaud the martyrs. Would you applaud the martyrs and those who took up arms too? Do you applaud both of them? So the martyr is good and the one who picks up a gun to kill his oppressor is good. Are they both good? Doesn't matter. As long as they're doing it, it's okay. So would we be attracted to a faith with these types of roots?